Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I have someone for you who has very recently turned into a producer. And before that, he has been a listener for almost a decade. I'm talking about someone who you might have known as the SoundCloud comments guy, and you might have seen his comments all over the place. So presenting to you, our very own Bawski. A lot of things we talk about revolve around the evolution of the entire scene from what it was before and how it is now, since Riley has experienced and witnessed a lot of the changes with his own eyes. He also talks about the struggles that a new producer faces, things that you can do if you're a new producer that might help you get over some of the initial humps that you are facing. And if you need some inspiration to get started, this is the right conversation. And as usual, I will also play a song made by Riley so that you know the kind of music you can expect from him. And with that, we'll jump right into it. See you on the other side. Bye. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
What should I call you? Riley
Yeah, that's fine.
or Bawski?
Either way is fine with me.
I guess I'll go with the shorter one, Riley.
Yeah, I'm glad you pronounced it right. So many people say Lebowski.
Bawski. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the pronunciation on your SoundCloud description, I think, or somewhere.
Yes.
So what are we talking about today? I do have questions, but do you have anything in mind that you want to start with?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything. I'm not good at talking about myself, I guess, but
I'll make you, don't worry.
I was just gonna say I like your podcast and I like to listen to all the interviews. I find it so interesting to like get to know the artists and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a value in listening to their story apart from just their music. It's you get to see only so much, such a little part of them. It's very difficult to form the personality behind the music. And once you know it, it adds so much value to the music.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I've been getting to know a lot of artists in the scene the past year, and like it's changed my perception a lot of these people, and like everybody's just so much nicer. Most people are so much nicer than you'd ever expect.
I mean, in all the edginess, you would expect angry people.
And you'd expect like conceited people sometimes.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the times it turns out everybody's like really down to earth and just relaxed and easy to talk to for the most part overall.
True. You know, the first time I heard about Bawski was, do you know how I heard about you?
I'm not sure. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say maybe one of the interviewees that you were interviewing for the book.
Mm-hmm. That's a right guess, actually. White Eyes told me about you, so.
Wow, that is. I think. I think you actually messaged me months back, and you mentioned that, and that surprises me because I mean, White Eyes is. I mean, he's a very established artist, so.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't know me by my music at the time. Obviously, he just knew me as like the SoundCloud comments guy. I'm sure. I'm humbled to know that someone as big as White Eyes and someone that's been in the scene for as long as him actually knows who I am. It's like, wow, that's surprising.
So let's start with that. How did you become the SoundCloud's COVID guy?
I don't know how I became it. I know I started it a long time ago. I mean, I was in my teens for sure. 2008 was when I created the account. But originally, I just started commenting on things as a joke because, like, back then, it was a lot of the artists and a lot of the fans were not from America. And it was a lot of, like, UK and European, those types of places across the seas. And they just had a different way of speaking. Like, they'd say mate and things like that. That's an Australian thing, too. But I started to emulate that out of being, like, satirical. but it started to stick. I mean, obviously I liked the music. I was never doing it as a joke, listening to the music and commenting, but I mean, just like my comments in general, especially being all caps, like it started out as a joke and then it just kind of stuck and I kept doing it. And people started to like recognize me. So I was like, might as well keep doing it.
Yeah, this guy's everywhere. Who is this guy?
I seriously get them once a day from someone either on SoundCloud, someone responding to a comment, or someone hitting Instagram. They're like, why do I see you everywhere? It's like, I mean, 12 years later, 13 years later, yeah, I'm sure you probably have seen me in a few places.
Yeah. So you were a listener first and then you became a producer? Is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that transition happen?
It's kind of funny, honestly. I've always wanted to make music, but I never thought like I could because I always had like this idea that you had to go to college for it and you had to have background in music to do it. So I never really pursued it until I think last year, I don't know, whenever the COVID pandemic started, and I also was suffering from a bad shoulder, so I stopped skateboarding because that's what I always used to do. But it got to I couldn't do it anymore. And when the pandemic started happening and everybody was saying that there's going to be lockdowns, I'm like, uh-oh, I need something to do. So I went out literally a day before everything locked down to buy a laptop.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty new to it still. But basically my main motivation was just having something to do. And it's always been something I've wanted to pursue. I just didn't think I could. But I talked to a few artists like Autokilla, and they're like, dude, if you want to make music, you don't need to go to school. You don't need to do anything special for it. You just need to start making it. You just you have to have a desire to do it. So, I mean, thanks to having connections in the community before I ever started making music, kind of helped me find the passion, desire to actually start doing it. Because I put it on a pedestal for the longest time, like, you know, it's something I could never do, but it's honestly not that hard. It's hard to learn the technical aspects and the songwriting aspects, but as far as like the software goes, it's pretty easy to learn.
The initial hump is probably what holds back a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like a lot of people also just like, I mean, it's natural, but everybody thinks like, oh, this shit sucks. Or they think, I'm sorry, am I allowed to cuss? Are we putting this on YouTube?
Yeah, you're allowed to cuss as long as we are not, being racist. Otherwise, it's fine.
Okay, I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But yeah, I mean, it's natural, but I think a lot of people either they love their own music at first or they hate it. And, you know, I'm kind of right in the middle. Like sometimes I'll make something that sucks, but like I made it. So I'm like, ooh, this is really cool. But I think that's what a lot of people away and discourages them at first is because it's like, you want to make something perfect right away. And like, that's not how it works. You gotta like keep doing it and keep trying until you become experienced enough, I guess.
Yeah, and some people even don't, even after so many years of experience, don't like their stuff necessarily. They're like, it's all right. I could do better.
Yeah, I think that's healthy. I think that's a healthy way to look at it. As long as you're not like beating yourself up over it, that's easy to do.
Yeah, true. Any recent releases that you're particularly happy with?
Everything that's out right now, I'm kind of on. Honestly, my favorite song that I have released right now is the Drum Warp VIP, but I have a few things coming.
The vocals on that one. Do not talk to yourself.
I know, goofy as fuck. It's me, actually, that did the vocals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a weird idea for that song, and then the VIP is much better than the original.
Personally, I like, how do you even pronounce this? Arma Inferens? Is that how you say it?
That's close enough. I can't really pronounce it properly because you're supposed to like roll the R's and stuff. It's like Arma.
Oh, okay. I like that one. It's really nice.
I like that one too, actually. It's not bad. That song was made so fast, and I'm like, I still surprise myself sometimes because I'm still new, and like when I make a song in like a week and I like it, it's like, what happened?
Magic. Gotta do that again.
I know. I wish I could do that all the time, but some songs pull right out. Other songs you spend like a month on and you're still not happy with it.
So you mostly make Tearout? How do you pronounce that?
Tearout, yeah.
So you mostly make that, or do you also, venture out into other directions?
So all my all the songs that are released are definitely Tearout, and it's probably my favorite genre to make right now. But I am starting to like work my way into like some death step. I have one collab that's death step that's going to be forthcoming on a label coming in July or August. They haven't told me exactly when the release is. And then the White Eyes remix that I just did is definitely Death Step.
For the competition?
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you. I don't think I'll win, but hey, I'll be happy if White Eyes listens to my track and likes it at all. So that'd be a win for me. But that's one of my favorite tracks also right now. It's really kind of repetitive because I matched the length of his song.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 5 minutes long, but it's honestly like one of my favorite songs. It kind of feels like Minatory, but Minatory for Jerry if he's listening.
Everybody's pulling on Jerry's legs now.
I know. Honestly, that cracked me up because it's easy to be like pulling an English accent, Minatory type. But yeah, Minatory, I definitely want to try to make some Minatory because like it fascinates me. And Scarred, I talked to Scarred a bunch lately.
Mm-hmm.
At least we exchange a bunch of like goofy pictures and memes with each other. But his music has really been inspiring me to try to make some. But it's hard to make that first. I don't know why it's hard for me. It just is. Because it's not that hard of a genre to actually make. Like when you really like take it apart and focus on each little piece, it's just an ambience and then it's the bass. And a lot of the times it's like a really slow BPM and just kick snare and there's barely anything else to it. But for some reason it like, I don't know. It's easy to make it bad too. So that's one thing that kind of prevents me from trying to go where I don't want to make something that's.
Why not? I mean, you have to make something bad eventually. You can't make 100% good stuff.
You're right. And I mean, you can't improve without making bad stuff. That's why I've just put out music already. It's like, I'm not going to wait 4 or 5 years before I start putting music out, trying to make like the most perfect things. That's just a waste of time. It's counterproductive.
True.
Because you learn a lot as you go. Just like, I mean, 10 decent or 10 bad songs is better than just like one really good song, in my opinion.
Very true. I agree with that.
But yeah, making music is finicky. It definitely has been, it's been a fun process though. It's been fun learning.
At least it gave you something to do when you were all locked down.
Yeah, exactly. And now I don't do anything but make music and it's all I want to do. So it's taken over my life.
Addiction problems, huh?
I know all these people that I talk to, they're like, I hate making music or I'm in a writer's block or this and that. I'm like, how do you feel that way? I just want to make music if I'm not making something I want to make, I'm just sitting there making music no matter what if I have the time.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel like you're burnt out and you need a break?
I was just going to say that. Not yet. It's been a year and like a couple months. And like I have once felt like I needed a break, except for like I need to go out and see the sun sometimes. But other than that, like all I think about is I want to finish this song that I'm working on, or I want to start a new song, or
anything you're working on right now?
Yeah. I don't know if the label is going to take it or not. So far, I've only sent it to Full Flex Audio, but I don't think it's their style. It's seriously dark. It's like a horror themed. It's sampling an old horror movie from the 80s called The Thing. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not into horror movies that much. I mean, I cannot watch it without, closing my eyes all the time.
I honestly don't like horror movies myself either. Some I do, like a couple, mostly alien type horror movies, but overall I'm not like a big fan. But I like the scores, the music, and I like how suspenseful it can be. So like that's something that has actually really influenced my stuff lately. Is like I mean, obviously something I'd like to do is make movie scores, but I don't think I'll ever get to that point. But that's something that's like really influenced like my desire to make music, is like just the sound effects in movies and stuff. Like it just, I don't know, something about it is just so cool. How you can like dictate like emotions and feelings with just sound.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday I was watching this a little video about, the movie Dunkirk?
Yeah.
So there's this, the music producer of that, he used a certain technique. I'm not sure what exactly it's called, but it basically is an illusion that constantly creates suspense. And that's why it sounds so intense. So things like that, they make it so much better. And I think the scenes without the music would not be as intense as the music adds the value to it.
Right. I completely agree. And you're talking about the World War II movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the soundtrack to that was probably my favorite part of the whole movie. Like, the visuals were really good too, and the story was interesting. I liked the way it was told from the different time periods, like the different time durations. I don't know how to describe what there, but yeah, the score really made that movie like enjoyable.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I just listened to some of the music.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you watch it, prepare to be completely confused.
Possible.
It's very bizarre because I'm not even gonna try to describe it, but they tell it in a very non-linear time fashion. It's just very strange. I don't know how to describe what they did there.
Artistic choice.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, coming back to your name, what does Lebowski stand for?
So it doesn't stand for anything. I mentioned I was really young when I started the SoundCloud account.
Mhm.
Um, so at the time, I didn't smoke weed or anything, but I had watched a movie that became my favorite movie, and still is one of my favorite movies, called The Big Lebowski.
Okay.
Honestly, I recommend watching the movie. It's funny. At the time, there was a lot of artists that had like two letters and then space and then like another portion of their name. So it was like one was LX1, I think. And I just liked the way it looked. So I took The Big Lebowski because I was very unoriginal, and I just kind of like chopped it up differently and came up with Lebowski. So like not everybody would know it's Lebowski, but basically it just comes from that movie.
I see, I see.
And it's stuck. I like it. I don't think I'll ever change it.
It definitely stands out.
Yeah, it does, and I'm surprised because I made it so young. I never expected people to like recognize me or anything.
So many people get embarrassed by their, younger names.
I know, I know. I've talked to a bunch of people, and like I've witnessed a lot of artists who have changed their name. It's like,
Yeah.
as this artist, how you change your name? It's like,
It gets difficult to recognize them after a while. And I mean, if they do the changes too often,
yeah, I completely agree.
I have to keep like an entire log of people's names because I'm like, okay, this is that person. It's the same person. You know how many times I got confused by Ruin and Venom? I thought they were two different people for like the longest time.
Oh, I know, I know. And especially with Mandatory, I feel like a lot of people have changed their name, and Tearout too. A lot of artists have like they had a really good recognizable name, and then they go and change it, as they get older, and it's like, who are you?
They're like, I'm my current self without the past baggage, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I understand why somebody would do it.
Mhm.
Not everybody, as I guess, as lucky as me when I was like a child writing my name out, and now as an adult, I'm like, hey, this is actually a good name, and I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah.
I could, and like, if you named yourself like some stupid thing, like, it'd probably get embarrassing after a while, even if people recognized it.
Mhm. And the thing is, out of all the edgy names, all the morbid names about death and I don't know, stuff like that, and
Yeah.
you see something like Lebowski, I'm like, that's not death, that's not dark. What is it supposed to be?
Right. Yeah, you can't really put your finger on it, and I still haven't like I haven't come up with like an aesthetic per se. I mean, like the photo I use in my profile
Marilyn
picture, I
Monroe
think.
suits you. I don't know why, but that picture is so. I don't know, maybe I'm used to seeing it with your name, but it defines that name so well.
I know. That picture is up. I think it's Marilyn Monroe, but I have
Mhm.
no actual idea. I don't even know where I got the picture at. I just had it on my computer.
Mhm.
I mean, I've had the computer for a year, few months now, but still, like, I have no idea where I found that. And for some reason, yeah, it really does kind of define it.
Yeah. Why do you have random pictures of Marilyn Monroe on your computer?
Great question. I don't know. I don't know where I found it. I don't know when I found it. I don't even know when I put it as my profile picture. And it's weird because I'll be releasing some dark music coming up, and like my my profile picture does not exactly reflect what I'm making. So I don't know.
Maybe change the color palette to black and white and it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I might try that.
One question about the Tearout genre as such. I think you're the first person who is so far exclusively making that. So how would you define Tearout? And how does it, to your ears, how does it differentiate from the rest of the things?
So that's a good question. How do I define it? Would be it's rudimentary rhythm based
Mm-hmm.
dubstep. I don't know if rudimentary is really the right word for it, especially nowadays. But the definition of it is it's dubstep focused less on the low end, less on sub frequencies, and more in the mid range. So like with that definition, you could pretty much define a million different subgenres as Tearout. But
Right.
nowadays, it's more based on like aggressive, rhythmic screams and growls and machine guns. It sounds so silly, but I mean, it's mostly just based in rhythm, which is funny because I mean, if you listen to it, it's sometimes you hear the rhythm, but like it's just so overwhelming and visceral at sometimes. I don't know. But how does it? The other part of your question was how does it?
How do you differentiate? When you're listening to something, how do you figure out if it's Tearout or something else?
That's a great question. So I've stopped doing that. I mean, if you see my profile, I have a lot of playlists, and like the tear out quote unquote playlists are called gunpowder.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily tear out in there. A lot of it is, but like mainly it's focused on the energy that the track has, and obviously if it has like a machine gun lead
Mm-hmm.
and it moves way, I'll just consider that like a tear out esque track.
I
Um,
see.
but like so much rhythm nowadays sometimes feels like tear out. So for me, it's
It does.
yeah, like I can't think of an art like Samplifier is one that makes he makes tear out in rhythm, but like sometimes his rhythm tracks are so heavy they feel like tear out. And there's a lot of other artists, so sometimes it's hard to like honestly differentiate it based on like a technical thing. But for me, it's like how the track moves, and that's hard for me to describe. But like rhythm for me moves a certain way because nowadays rhythm is also very broad, and there's so much like it's such an eclectic genre now that like rhythm isn't as like definable as it once was when it first came out. So it's just how a track moves, whether it's bouncy or whether it's like straightforward and in your face kind of aggressive type of rhythm. And that's kind of how I define it and differentiate it.
Yeah, I think the vibe defines the entire thing. Even if it's the same machine gun, the way you use it defines the difference, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know where this term tear out came from or how it started in the first place?
I don't know where it started, but I know, and like I Google it all the time just to see if I'm right.
Mhm.
The mental effect has happened, and I can't find anything on it. But I remember back in the day, there was Tear Out DNB, way before Tear Out was considered like a dubstep thing. But as dubstep started to adopt that term, do you know who Rusko is?
I've heard of him, yes.
It's like a very old producer. Back in the day, people consider him a Tear Out DJ because he would play tracks that were focused in the mid range and not in the sub frequencies. Because dubstep was originally like a really sub frequency focused genre, and then you have someone like Rusko who's playing like this like upbeat, kind of mid-rangey, like trebly type sound, and that was considered tear out. So I mean, it's really it's an old term. A lot of people think like Murata invented it, which cracks me up.
Yeah, even I thought it's relatively new.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why, but there's also artists like Genetics or Persist, even Font Case. You can maybe consider Cookie Monster. Like Tear Out has been like definable in the dubstep genre for a minute as far as like machine guns go and growls. Like that stuff has been around for 12 years at least.
Wow, okay.
But obviously it's quite different nowadays. It's quite more aggressive and a lot different sound designs.
Yeah, sure. That's part of the natural evolution, I think.
Yes, 100%.
The strange thing that baffles me sometimes is the grouping of Tearout, Deathstep, Minotauri into like this one gray packet of things. I don't know. Is it just me who groups them together or is it everybody?
No, I can see how. I mean, I hear a lot of death step, and I think, wow, this sounds like tear out. But yeah, it's easy to do. I could totally see why. I think it's easy to differentiate like Minotauri from death step than it is tear out from other genres. But I could see grouping them all together based on like the sound and the aggressiveness,
Yeah,
and a lot
right.
of the times the branding. The branding is usually very similar. People have their like death metal looking logos and stuff.
Yeah, totally. But again, let's not, categorize things into things. Just listen to music and enjoy.
I liked it better when it was just all dubstep, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I think dubstep kind of, abandoned death step in a sense. It's like that's nothing to do with us. It's too heavy for us.
I know. I agree with that. The only like mainstream death step that exists, and it's not death step, is phase one. Like that's the heaviest death step. Like, dude, no. No, phase one makes dubstep.
Yeah. I mean, you could go on arguments like that everywhere on the internet, so.
I try not to, but yeah, I totally could.
And what's up with this hating on Riddim so much?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is like there's younger kids in the scene. They haven't been to like a Riddim concert, and that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of listening to Riddim on its own, but like I have been to a lot of shows growing up, and like Riddim, so good live. I mean, all you have to do is listen to like a really good Riddim mix, and then like you'll kind of get an idea. But I mean, something about a live Riddim set, it's like, holy crap, this is amazing. But like, I hate the term Riddim.
Anything particular about it?
I don't know. I just hate the way it sounds. I hate the origins of it. I remember when Riddim first started appearing, and I hated it. I fought with people. I was like, call that minimal. It's
Oh,
wonky.
yeah, okay. I remember Moss mentioning that.
Yeah, exactly. I laughed at when he said minimal. I was like, dude, that's what I used to call it, because it really reflected the sound back then. It's still like it's a fun music to listen to, and it's like really good to dance to live because it's not just like necessarily a mosh pit. It's like you can actually groove in the crowd.
True. So, any artists you were influenced by back then or even now?
Quite a few. I mean, crap, I don't even know if I could begin to name them. But back then, the very first artist that like I ever heard was Caspa. So he definitely influenced me a lot. But in terms of like really getting me into dubstep and like shaping my perception on music was Genetics and Funtcase. And then over the years, Genetics doesn't really make music anymore, which is a shame. They were so good. But years, like it's shaped a lot. There's a lot of really amazing artists that have really just like solidified my love for the genre overall. And in terms of influences, like that got me to make music, I'd say Sudden Death, Midnight Tyrannosaurus, um, Moth, actually, believe it or not. Autokilla, he used to make like some really good Tearout, and he still does, but and then we talked a lot before I started producing, so he kind of gave me some pointers. So I respect him for that. I mean, there's honestly so many that have influenced me over the years, though, and like it's hard for me to just like pinpoint names regarding that specifically.
Understandable.
Yeah, there's like thousands of artists, and I've listened to so many of them.
It's like your brain kind of picks up the things you like, and consciously, subconsciously, you have those things in your head, and it all becomes something when you try making stuff.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
So, how's your life outside of music? What do you do? You mentioned the skateboarding. Other than that,
Lately, I don't do anything, but I think as things start to go back to like normal, I do have to like get a new job eventually. I can't just sit at home all day. But I don't know. I mean, I have a couple concerts coming up to go to. Subtronics is coming to Red Rocks, but honestly, not much. I don't really have any, if not very few, in real life friends. So I mostly just keep to myself. And like today, I have to be outside of my house to get service to talk to you. So I went out to the bar and I bought some books. So I basically just like read, sleep, make music, and then I'll probably get a job soon. And I'll just think about making music all day at work. Yeah, it's been pretty boring right now, to be honest.
that's not boring. That's quiet and peaceful, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I never read books very much before all this started happening. And like, I actually like this change. I've probably read like 20 novels since the whole pandemic started.
Nice.
And yeah, that's like 20 more novels than I've read like my whole life, basically.
Yeah. What are you currently reading?
Bunch of science fiction. I've been hooked on the alien, like whole entire lore behind Alien, so I've bought like tons of those novels. I
Oh,
don't know if you've ever seen Alien with the Sigourney Weaver and stuff.
I have. I have.
Yeah.
You sound like the definition of a monk who is a producer and also a monk in a sense.
Honestly, like live in the middle of nowhere and have fast internet.
Right. You need that sometimes.
Yeah. and before the pandemic, I was like a huge, I wouldn't say partier, but I went to a concert 2-3 times a week. I mean, I used to be absolutely crazy, doing the stupidest things. Who was that person?
Is that not you anymore?
I don't think so. No, I was pretty wild, especially the past 4 years, not including this year. The past like 4 years previous to making these.
The wild beast has been tamed.
Exactly. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm scared to go out into public now.
Yeah, it's like you fall out of practice. I also feel that sometimes it's like eye contact has become difficult now that I don't have practice of doing it.
Right. I know. I feel the same. Like, oh my gosh, I have to interact with people. And like back then I was always stoned. So now I'm like, I'm sober. Oh my gosh, this is so awkward to talk to people, and when it should have been the opposite.
Yeah, get some used to. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. I'm still like, I'm not totally socially inept yet. Maybe a couple more years of producing, I will be.
You're good at talking, so that's a first.
Hey, thanks. I had a lot of practice. I used to work a job that I had to talk to customers all the time and like drive them places. So it'd be like one-on-one conversation, and it'd be with like really old people, or it was just always like people I would never normally talk to. So I had to kind of like learn. It was kind of hard. So now it's easier for me.
Did you like that?
Yeah, actually, I kind of liked it. It was the job. The job was okay. I worked with some really crappy people, but overall, I really enjoyed what I did, and I enjoyed the social aspect of it and the driving. I always enjoy driving because it's peaceful.
Have you met any other producers in the scene, in a concert or otherwise?
Um, I've only met briefly Digitist and Executioner and Zabor. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a Riddim artist.
I haven't heard of him.
Oh, it's fine. Don't even worry about it. But yeah, I haven't really met anybody like one-on-one and like developed like a relationship in real life. It's always been all over the internet. Like I talked to tons of artists, but not so much in real life.
I see. I see. Makes sense. Would you, I mean, if you would get a chance to meet anyone, who would you want to meet? I mean, you can totally pass this question.
Good question. Um, I would say Scarred, but I'm afraid like all of our jokes would become serious because we talk about some goofy stuff. No, I think Scarred would be fun to meet. He seems to be a really down to earth guy. Um, in terms of like big producers, oh man, I'd like to meet. I mean, there's a lot to be honest, but like, I also feel like I don't want to be a fanboy, and I don't want to. I wouldn't want to have them feel like they're obligated to hang out with me or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cool to like meet someone like Sudden Death, or I don't know, somebody who's like really established, and like pick their brain about branding and what they do at live shows, how to prepare, and just things like that. Like that stuff's always interested me. Like, I don't know. And obviously the production process. I'd like to know more about established artist production process, because it's just so different, like being in the scene versus like just being a fan of the scene.
True, true. And it's so difficult sometimes to keep that fanboy aspect and the person who just wants to learn and not, irritate too much.
So hard. Because like there's this, I'm in a Discord server with like a bunch of my friends, and we have an artist named Affinity, and she's married to Barracks, and they're both kind of like rhythm artists in a way. Having her in the scene or in the Discord server is so weird to me, because it's like I want to pick her brain so much, but I also don't want to be like annoying, and I want to be a fanboy. But like she makes really good music, and like the way she masters her songs is insane. She has some like really loud, clear masters. I'm like, I want to learn, but I don't want to like message her all day. Like, so how do you do this? What do you do here? It's hard. It's hard balance to find for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever heard back from anyone saying that you're asking too many questions? Does that happen?
No, not to me personally, but I have had people like just ignore me and just stop talking to me after a while. And it's like, all right, I understand.
Thank you for ghosting me, I guess.
Right. I've had a couple artists ghosted me where it's like it has actually rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not going to name names, but it happened in a way where it's like they clearly had a problem with me or developed some kind of distaste for me, but they didn't have like the courage to just tell me like, hey, I don't like you. Hey, you're annoying. Hey, your stems you
Mhm.
sent me suck. So it's like, oh, all right, just stop talking to me and unfollow me on socials. That's cool too.
Yeah, I guess that's how you stop talking to people now. Unfollow them.
It's like it's like the internet's way of breaking up with someone. Like you just unfollow.
You don't even have to go to the extent of blocking them anymore. You just unfollow them.
Exactly. Like blocking is like something you do when like you absolutely like hate somebody, but if you just like dislike somebody or don't respect someone anymore, you just unfollow them.
Yeah. It's so strange that these subtleties of social media gives you so much information about what the person is thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Like 15 years ago, like this stuff was unheard of, and now it's like it's it's all there is social media.
Yeah, we're reading minds through people's, how people like it, how people share things. It's so strange. I mean, I've heard from some friends that if I don't follow them, it means that I don't like them. And I'm like, what kind of logic is that? I like you in real life.
Right. Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. Like I've had someone that got mad at me because I had like blocked them on everything, but it's like I've kind of blocked all my in real life acquaintances and friends and like everybody in real life.
You don't want them to find out this side of Riley.
Exactly. I'm like slightly embarrassed by it, but also it's like you don't need to know what I'm doing. Doesn't really concern anybody but the music community. Just means that, I'm keeping myself private from the people who actually know me so they're not like, hey, how's your Bleep-bloop music going?
Bleep-bloop music, is that what they call it?
That's what I call some of that new Riddim stuff that comes out that sounds like Bleep-bloop. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I tried listening to some other stuff like I think glitch hop and some drum step and stuff. And for some reason, one or two tracks are nice, but after a while I'm like, no, I want this is too light for my brain. I want You ever
I know.
feel that?
Yes. Yes. Although all of today driving in the car, I've listened to nothing but liquid drum and bass, but I understand. Something about not heavy music. You just need that heavy stuff or that angry music, even if you're not feeling that way. It's just like, where's the heaviness,
Yeah, it's like I'm missing something in my life.
Exactly. And again, when people like start telling me how they hate listening to dubstep and they don't ever listen to dubstep unless they're making it, I'm like, who are you? Like,
People have their preferences.
yeah, it's true. I understand that is true. Everybody's different, and then some people make music for a lot longer than me, so they're not as new and like loving it. I understand.
Yeah. And you don't have to be an angry person to like angry music. It's quite contrary, I think.
Yeah, I agree completely. Although it is a good, I guess, outlet for someone who is angry.
That's true, that's true. To me, the anger does not translate that much, but it's more like it's a ton of energy stuffed into something. It could be anger sometimes, but it's the happy anger, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely 100% am with you on that. Like it feels like the most angry, like in your face dubstep to me feels like just like energy. It makes me want to like jump up and do
Yeah.
stuff. It doesn't make me want to like be pissed. And dubstep, like even the most angry stuff, I don't think I ever listen to it when I'm mad, which is rare. But I just something about it when I'm happy is like it's exactly what I need, even if it is the most angry sounding track.
Yeah. You jump up and bump your chest and feel like, I don't know, yeah, I can take on the world today.
Yeah, I definitely it pumps me up and it makes me like it helps me get through the day sometimes, especially if I'm like not having energy. I'll throw on some dubstep mix and it's like, all right, I'm ready to clean my room or drive down the road or whatever I'm gonna do. I don't recommend doing that, to be honest, driving while doing it, because man, there's been times when I've like just about swerved out the road to like some crazy drop I wasn't expecting in a mix.
Catches you off guard.
Yeah. Yes,
I guess listen to familiar stuff then in your car.
that's good advice for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes like seriously like a mix, like they'll do like a double drop that you're not expecting and it's just like oh.
Yeah, you have to pull up and then, process that for like 5 minutes and like, what just happened?
Right, exactly. You're like, what songs was that? How did they do this?
I have to save it into a playlist so that I don't lose it.
Oh, I'm so glad I've been saving playlists for the past couple years because, man, I come back to songs so often.
Yeah. I think over the time you develop this, I don't know, everybody has their palette and the playlists become such an important part of your life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It sounds strange when I say it like that, but there is one playlist that I listen to almost every day, and it's weird to a point where it's like the same songs, I'm repeating the same songs, but it doesn't feel like I'm listening to the same stuff, or I'm not bored at least.
Yeah, I have playlists like that too, where I can just listen to them. I can put them on shuffle and listen to it every day, and
Yeah.
it's fine.
Every shuffle is like a new mix.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love being that way with music and not getting so burnt out. Because I mean, there's still songs from 2012 I'll play all the time nowadays. Still.
True. One thing that I would like to ask, since you're relatively new in the production side of things, what would you suggest people who are, wanting to start but somehow not able to?
If they're able to get a computer and a DAW, I'd recommend not using sample packs for anything except for drums and risers and effects. Make your own basses and have fun doing it. It's honestly so easy to make your own bass. If you have FL Studio, or I mean, you can download free granulizers, and basically it completely warps the sample. And there's other plugins that'll do it too. Just make your own sounds. It's so easy. It's so much fun, and it's a lot more rewarding. And honestly, like, I hate to say anybody can do it because it is hard and it does take time, but anybody can really do it. If you want to make music, it's as easy as having the hardware and software and just having fun. I mean, honestly, I mean, you could ask if anybody wants to ask me for questions, and obviously many other artists feel the same way. Like, we're happy to help. We're happy to give pointers. And just getting started, I mean, it's fine to like throw together samples and stuff, but the sooner you start like developing like your own sounds, not necessarily a signature sound, because that's in the past. No one cares about a signature sound, for the most part. But just have fun, make your own sounds. It's once you start doing it, it's addicting. It's absolutely addicting. Don't just try to copy somebody. The best thing to do when you're starting out is to take a song that you like and copy the structure of it, but not the sound. Like, do your kicks in the same places, do your drum fills in the same places, do your risers and all that in the same places, but make it all your own sound. It's so much easier.
So you're basically taking the skeleton of somebody else's and just fleshing it out.
Yeah, and that's also good for if your song ever gets played in the DJ set. So like that's why dubstep songs are structured the way they are. Sorry, there's loud cars. But they're structured a certain way so that they can be played in the DJ set, which is how they're meant to be played. So if you have like a really weird structure of a song, it's going to be harder for someone to like put that into a set and play it with other songs. Mm-hmm. So it's okay, completely okay to copy the skeleton of another track. In fact, I encourage that.
Thank you. That sounds like really helpful.
I hope it helps somebody. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And if it helps, let Riley know.
Yes, please do.
So any message to the community in general? Fans or producers or people in between?
Try to accept each other more. There's a lot of drama and toxicity, at least in my city in particular. Just let each other be, you know, like we're all in this together. We're all having fun. We all enjoy this music, and there's no reason to have drama unnecessarily. I mean, I understand personal drama, but overall, like, there's so many artists that I've noticed that they just want to talk bad about something, and it's like, why even bother doing that? And especially when it's such a new scene and such a little scene. I mean,
yeah,
we could all be friends, and it'd be fine. You know, nobody is losing clout being friends with someone else. No one's losing clout by helping someone else. So I think we should all be more personable and happy to help, happy to talk.
Yeah.
Especially while it's a small scene, which it is. It's a pretty small scene. I mean, I follow like 1,900 people, and I know there's more out there, but I'd say there's probably only like a few thousand people making dubstep, maybe 10,000 at most in the world. I mean, not really including all the up-and-comer brand new people, but it's a small scene, you know. It's not like rock and roll where everybody does it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years and you can be familiar with most of it.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
I hope these conversations help somehow, because I think there was a serious lack of conversations in the scene, at least the conversations which were not just, people talking back and forth, sending memes, and I don't know
Right.
what else.
I agree. Yeah, honestly, like back when I started in dubstep, it was pretty normal to never see the face of an artist. It was normal to like never find an interview on an artist, and then slowly but surely it started becoming like these professional headshots and interviews. And but even now, it's like you said, it's few and far in between how many actual like getting to know an artist type of podcast videos, interviews that there really are. Like it's still kind of like it's lost, and it really should be more of a thing. I like what you're doing, because I would have never heard Oth's voice. I would have never known anything about him. So many of these other, are getting interviews. Like with the, do you watch Nimda and Outlaws the Wall podcast?
Not always, but I've seen a few posts about it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like they're doing a similar thing, but it's more of just like a banter. Not so much. I mean, there are questions, but it's less interview and more just banter. But even then, I enjoy it because, like you said, it's not often you get to know an artist personally.
Yeah. I think the one conversation that really, really stuck in my head was there was an interview with Skrillex, and there was an old lady who was interviewing Skrillex. It was not the questions that got me, but it was how, you get to see a different side of the same artist.
Yeah.
That got me so much. And I was like, yeah, I want to do something like that.
Yeah. That's so cool that you're doing this.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's just not enough getting to know the artist outside of like social media nowadays. And social media is so saturated. It's all the same stuff. You don't actually get to know anybody through it.
It's saturated. It's quick. It's very tiny. People don't want to read out an entire paragraph of text. Forget about listening to a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I hardly check anybody's socials, to be honest. Like I'll tweet at a few people here and there, but overall, like I either get to know somebody personally or I don't. I mean, over the internet.
Yeah, and it gets tough after a while because you cannot keep up with 1900 people's, things.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
You can at max to like 200. That would also be overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even just the amount of people that I talk to regularly is pretty overwhelming sometimes. Like I have like 4 or 5 ongoing conversations every day, and it's not like draining on me, but at the same time it's like overwhelming for me to go through and reply, especially when our conversations get to be like 5 or 6 paragraphs each reply, and it's like, oh my gosh.
It's like an assignment. You have to sit down and do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love talking to people and getting conversations like that. It's so cool. But man, like I couldn't imagine being like an actual famous artist, and like I understand why they don't run their own social medias 100%, but at the same time it sucks because you never get to know them.
Yeah. There are goods and bads of everything. You have to just manage with all of that.
Yep, exactly. Just have to take the good with the bad.
So any questions for me, Riley? Or anything you would want to say?
For you personally, I'm curious where you're at. You're in India, right?
Yes.
And are there not dubstep concerts at all there?
There are some, but I don't know. I'm not a big concert person, so I don't look out for things. But yeah, it's few and far between. I mean, you can hear names like Marshmello and stuff. I don't know if you call that dubstep or not. But yeah, those big artists sometimes do shows, but smaller ones, no.
Fair enough. That's cool that you got into it, though. And I understand, like, I'm totally with you nowadays. Like, I'm going to a couple concerts, but I'm just as happy just staying home and doing my own thing.
Yeah. I mean, I did go to a few concerts before. Most of them were Bollywood concerts, but I did enjoy them. It's like in the moment you get the energy, you vibe with the crowd, but then it's very overwhelming, and I am not a big fan of crowds. I mean, I hate crowds. That's the reality, and I'm like, I'd rather sit in my home and listen to it by myself and just not be bothered by all of that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And crowds nowadays, at least here in Denver, Colorado, are very different from when I first started in the scene. Now it's like a lot more volatile. It seems like a lot of people are like there to almost fight. It's like that's not.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's really strange. I mean, even at Excision, I mean, I probably encountered 2 or 3 people in that crowd that were just like ready to throw hands for no reason. It's like, bro, I'm just trying to like walk past you in the crowd. Like people are just super aggressive, and it makes no sense because like you've heard of Plur, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like peace, love, unity, respect, and responsibility.
I've also heard some hatred towards that thing. So.
Yeah, I understand the hatred, and I understand like the whole. I know that there's good and bad with it, but overall, like the whole idea behind it was good, and it used to be very much like that. Like you get knocked down in a mosh pit, you get picked up. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it's like people just want to shove you over, and it's like, I'm kind of too old for that. 1 and 2, it's just like, not why I'm into this music. I'm not here to be violent. I'm not in the mosh pit to be violent, even though it seems violent. It used to not be. And it's funny because when I was a kid, like 17, 16 years old, mosh pits weren't like that. Mm-hmm. Like I with a bunch of adults and like not feel threatened at all. Now I'm like moshing with a bunch of kids and I'm feeling threatened, and it's like, holy shit, what is going on?
How is the difference? I mean, how was it back then and versus how is it now?
So I mean, I can only give you experience from here in my city, but I mean, I started going to shows when I was 15 or 16. I don't know exactly when, but there used to be like all ages venues. And, I'd stay there until 2 a.m, and there'd be nothing but adults on the floor. And, I saw some pretty heavy artists back then, even like Mantis and Figure and Sadu. I saw a bunch of like heavy artists, and like the crowd never felt threatening. It always felt welcoming, even as a kid. Like it just felt like I could belong there. And now I go into a crowd as an adult, and I'm like, I just feel like there's cliques everywhere. I feel like nobody wants to talk to each other unless they know you. Right. It just feels so different. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's just a feeling you get. And like when I started, I was young and I did so many dumb things going to shows, but I never felt like I was going to get into a fight. Nowadays, I feel like I have to like tiptoe around crowds to not get into a fight, and it's absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean, and it's sad that this has happened.
Yeah, it is, and I understand it's also like a societal thing. It's not necessarily like the music related as much as it's just like society has shifted a little bit. Yeah. At the same time, I always went to shows as an escape and to like enjoy myself, have fun, and meet cool people. And I don't know, I guess like other people don't feel that way anymore so much. They're just there to meet up with their friends and bang the rail as hard as they can and leave with a headache or whatever, dude.
Headache or a sprain in the neck.
Seriously.
I mean, I don't need a concert for that. I can do that in my room.
I can just break furniture at my house, hurt myself.
Furniture breaking not recommended.
Keep the holes out of your walls. No punching holes in the walls when listening to angry dubstep, please.
Does that really happen?
No, but maybe.
I mean, the walls here are super strong. They're like, you'd break your bones if you try that. Unless you're like, I don't know, unless you're scarred, I guess.
Then yeah, that's different. Here, the walls are hollow. When I was younger, I was very angry, disgruntled youth. I punched holes in walls all the time. I was stupid.
Oh,
but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're completely hollow unless you hit a 2x4.
I see. That's different. We have very solid walls.
That's good. That means your structures are built to last. Here, they're built to be torn down, it feels like.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, I had such a fun time. I mean, you are probably one of the other, fans, in a sense, that I'm speaking with directly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd consider you a fan before a producer. Not to disrespect you in any way, but I think I relate more in that way.
No, absolutely. No disrespect taken. I mean, I am. I mean, for 12 years, all I did was listen to the music and love it and go to concerts. So there's not necessarily a distinction yet between my being a fan and being a producer, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much again for being here. And if you have any last words, now would be the time to say
it. Last words.
Not like you're leaving tomorrow, but
I don't know. I'd probably just say something smart ass like collab, bro.
Yeah, that's really smart.
All the Discord people, I just constantly say collab, bro. I just spell it wrong. asking for a collab.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, not so much to say. I mean, anybody who wants to talk to me, feel free to hit me up. I mean, Discord, Instagram, whatever you want. I'm always happy to talk to anybody who wants to hear my last words.
Last word. Yeah. Well, thank you again, and I'll see you again sometimes.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you around.
Sure. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
That was really good. So that was Riley, aka Bawski, and he mostly makes Tearout. But as you heard from him, he is also going to venture out into Minatory and Deathstep, and let's see where that goes. Because when a fan has accumulated, you know, fuel for ideas for like last 12 years, it's going to be really curious to see how that translates into his music. So I'm excited to see that. And that's it for today's conversation. If you like it, let me know in the comments because, I don't care so much about the likes and the numbers, but I do appreciate the comments. It gives me an opportunity to start conversations with people and getting to know you're watching. So I'd really appreciate if you come and say hi or whatever. I mean, what you like about it, what you hate about it. Give me your opinions. Start a conversation. I like those things. And until next time, bye bye.